Hello and welcome in to this week's episode of the May the Smoke Be With You podcast. Thanks for joining us. Really do appreciate that. Never want to take for granted those that are out there listening. And so thanks for giving us your time. This week we have a great guest. Really excited to have him with us. Scott Bartlow teaches the basics of barbecue across a lot of platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, where he has a very loyal following. He's passionate about giving people the tools to make them a better backyard BBQ Jedi, and we are so thrilled to have him with us here today. So please welcome in Scott Bartlow. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing great, Joe. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Where are you joining us from? Where's home?
Home is Oklahoma City. That's
Oh,
born and raised. Now I've lived in different states, but that's home base.
that's home base. Born and raised. So you kind of moved around and then ended up back there. So tell me, you're in kind of one of the barbecue kind of hotbeds. I would, like one of the popular spots. Uh,
Sure,
What are let's just get cut right to the chase. Like, are there
sure.
places that you go to eat in Oklahoma City?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's hard because when you start getting into barbecue and you start doing it yourself, I definitely don't frequent out as much because you could just do it at home.
Sure.
Uh, Obviously, you want to. I like to support, and our family likes to support local businesses. So there's definitely a handful of barbecue joints that we go to when we can, and I've done the competition circuit for the first time last fall, and got connected to some restaurants there and also some food trucks. So we try to venture out and support some of those as well.
Okay. Do you want to name any of them? Give them a
Yeah,
little
probably my
publicity.
favorite here in Oklahoma City is the Butcher Stand, and they've grand champion a few barbecue a few times. They've got a rub and sauce, and they've been on a few different shows. I forget which ones. Kind of like hidden barbecue gyms.
Okay.
They're awesome. I like Texlahoma is another one that is kind of a combination of their family merging Oklahoma and Texas barbecue together. They call it Texlahoma. I had the privilege of being next to them in a barbecue competition, got to know those guys. And then Clark's Crew Barbecue is another one. So those are two or three that
Nice.
I enjoy going to.
You brought up Texlahoma. So Texas has a very definitive barbecue identity,
Sure.
and I think the folks from Oklahoma, you guys don't like each other, right? Like typically, uh,
Nice rivalry, especially in
yeah,
sport.
for sure. Uh, you know, what do you think? What are the major differences for those that haven't experienced that kind of Oklahoma City brand of barbecue? What's going to be different there than what you might find in other regions around the country?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's probably a few things that stand out to me, and those that have done it longer might have maybe another unique, perspective for sure. But one thing is just like anything, a lot of states, the wood smokes is going to be a very distinct aspect of what stands out to different regions, and so obviously in Texas, post oak is very popular. I would say that's still popular in Oklahoma as well, but one that, when it comes to wood smoking, pecan is a very unique wood that is used in Oklahoma and very popular as well. So that'd be one thing that I would say is a distinction, is the wood style that's used, no matter what kind of smoker you're using. Obviously, very similar to Texas, brisket is still king,
Okay.
at a lot of barbecue joints. But I think one thing, this is kind of funny, tongue in cheek, but we're known for, and it's kind of more in the grilling area than it is barbecue, but we're known for the Oklahoma onion burger in
Okay.
Oklahoma. We're also known for smoking bologna as well.
Okay.
Uh,
I can get down with that.
so that's but definitely brisket still king even in Oklahoma, no matter what joint you're going to, and all the traditional barbecue meats that you're used to. But
What's a,
those are
what's a, what's an onion burger?
Okay, man. Oklahoma onion burger. There's a lot of history there, but essentially, it's a smash burger, uh, smashing white onions, also a little mustard on the bun, depending on what joint you go to. But essentially, it's pretty much just a white onion smashed into the actual patty and giving it a few minutes to caramelize, and then and flip it, throw on your favorite cheese, and then a few barbecue or restaurants really like to put mustard on their bun and put that on the griddle. But essentially, that's really just it's that simple. But it's
Okay.
just the
Yeah.
simplicity of smashing a burger. It's the white onions, particularly, that makes it stand out in a really nice bun, and then and also some like to put pickles on there. So those are just some core features of it.
Yeah, I've seen it on Instagram, the onions down first. I guess I didn't realize that Oklahoma was kind of the origin of that.
Yeah,
So, thanks for the history lesson.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's fun. It's worth Googling because if you, it dates back to the Great Depression where it
Oh,
comes
wow.
from, and so it was more out of necessity during the Great Depression of how do we maximize what we have, or actually really don't have, to produce a mass amount. And so that's kind of, it's worth looking up and kind of seeing. And so there's a lot of debates of what restaurant really kicked that off and who started it, but
Okay.
it dates back pretty far.
Interesting. Well, let's talk a little bit about just kind of your culinary journey and kind of, how you got started in this. So, where did you grow up in a family that did food, that did a lot of cooking out, that was
Not at all.
barbecue people? No?
No, not at all. I would say the closest family history of cooking would be my grandpa. He's from a small town in Oklahoma, and he was a grocer. And I do remember growing up and going to the grocery store, and he would take me kind of and where the butcher was, and kind of do some unique things and cook unique food, but not necessarily barbecue. But I do have that vivid memory growing up. But otherwise, my traditional, my dad essentially definitely was not. I grilled on a gas grill, burgers, steaks, just your traditional things. But it was not. It was nothing complex at all. I didn't get the bug early or get passed down, so it really was probably in college, maybe even probably in my young adult uh, professional career. I graduated college here in Oklahoma City, a town called Edmond, and then I moved to Chicago and lived there for 8 years. And probably it was in that season that I started getting into barbecue. Some just different folks I connected to had some offset, and a friend gave me an offset. He had a big green egg, and he had an offset, and he knew every time I go to his house, he made just an amazing barbecue. So as a young professional, in my early 20s, I was in all of that, and that's kind of, I can have that vivid memory going, man, I want to learn how to do that. So when I first started, my eyes were set on a big green egg, but he ended up being very gracious. He's like, man, have this offset. It was pretty much rusted. It was not a quality. It was very thin metal. And I actually remember when I was single, my roommate at the time I think I made brisket or ribs, and I think my roommate at the time was like, "That was the worst barbecue I've ever had." Like I overcooked it. I didn't know what I didn't know, but I was hooked. Whenever you taste barbecue, that's great. But especially a friend he made it awesome in his backyard. I was like, man, I got to figure this out. And that was in my early 20s. And then there was probably a season where I didn't do it. I just was, it was a aspiration. I kind of worked at it a little bit, but it probably wasn't until COVID. I got married, and during COVID and right before that, I bought a Kamado Joe, and then I just utilized that season during COVID just to kind of start perfecting the barbecue skills, or a little bit before COVID, but definitely that ramped it up.
So really, I mean, pretty new to barbecue overall.
Sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing for a second there.
No, pretty new to barbecue overall then.
Yeah, so I would say I've been smoking for like 7 or 8 years,
Yeah.
uh, in serious. But yeah, one that's been doing it in my mid 20s. I'm 41, so I've been dabbling, starting in my mid 20s, making bad barbecue.
Yep.
Didn't really wasn't passionate about it, so I've definitely grilled and barbecued a little bit throughout the next 10 years. But yeah, the past 7 years, I bought a Kamado Joe 7 or 8 years ago, and started doing it, but never thought I would be a content creator or one that would ever cater or anything like that until probably, yeah, 3 or 4 years ago. So been doing it for a longer time, but as far as just exposure and cooking for other people, probably 3 or 4 years ago, or however long that's been now,
Yeah.
I started taking it more serious and really trying to learn the craft, if you will.
So Bartlow's Barbecue, the online presence started in 2020.
Yeah, yeah, 2019, 2020, something like that. I think it was, yeah, you don't know the exact date, but essentially right around there. But yeah, I've had a Kamado Joe long before that, but as far as online presence, yeah, 2019, 2020.
Wow, that's amazing. Really, I mean, you've done a lot in a very short time. Really.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, it definitely, I'm in nonprofit world professionally. I'm a pastor, and that's my kind of my profession and what I love doing. But then I also have found this hobby. A mentor of mine once said, you need to find a hobby, one that fuels you up, and so I tried biking, I tried running marathons, I tried a bunch of stuff, and it's like, totally sucks. Did not enjoy that experience, but I did run a marathon in Chicago, 10, 10, 10.
Okay.
Um, Tried a lot of things, didn't stick, but barbecue, it just stuck. It's this one, and it grew. The passion grew,
Hmm.
and then as I learned from my own mistakes, and of course, you're still always learning. It turned
Yep.
into, what I love how barbecue brings people together, and no matter what your background is. And then it turned, naturally in my profession, I teach, and I like to teach, and so was a natural segue for me
Yes.
to continue that even in the context of barbecue.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about where these worlds kind of intersect for you. So you're a pastor, full time pastor. Are you a lead pastor, or what's your role?
Yeah, I have a unique role. My role at the church is essentially, my title is called location expansion pastor. So that just
Okay.
means I'm a church planner. So I get to
Yeah.
plant churches within my church, and so I here in Oklahoma City take the whole state and go, okay, where do we see God moving? So yeah, I'm not the senior pastor,
Okay.
so I take that vision and help figure out where are the ways and get to do all the R&D and research for where we might want to start a church based on the needs of the community. And so we're very needs based. So we have community centers, we have a free clinic, that people that are uninsured, so we do a lot of unique things. We do church differently, and that's one of the ways. That's one of the unique things that I get to do is get to do the research and get it started. So
Nice.
definitely, I would the entrepreneurial aspect is in me. I get to do that in the context of the church, and then also in the context of barbecue as well.
Well, I would love if there's somebody listening in Oklahoma City, in Oklahoma, if they're looking for a church home. Would you say the name of the church?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no problem. It's called Crossings Community Church.
okay.
It's where I'm at, and man, I call it the Big C Church, and so we love the church. I love the church in general. So there's tons of great churches in Oklahoma and Oklahoma City,
Yeah.
and obviously, I love where I'm at, but I'm a big fan. Just and find a place that makes sense and connects with you if that's something you're looking for and you're needing. Tons of great churches around here.
Love that. Well, good. Well, if you're looking for a church, look Scott up online. He'll hook you up and get you situated. Give you a recommendation. If it's not Crossings, it's somewhere else. So when you think about content, when you're out there creating that, like what's your kind of your goal and kind of your point of view as you have established Bartlow's barbecue online? Like what's your main goal when you're creating that content?
Man, that's a really good question. I would say there is a few different goals for me. I mean, one, just at a high level, I love teaching, doing fast fire fun recipes,
Hmm.
making it really. When I use the term often, like you kind of referenced it, basics of barbecue. I really want to make barbecue accessible for
Yeah.
people. And so, because if, no matter what your story is, like if you can cook a meal in your backyard and it connects you to your neighbor, or you're supporting your family or a roommate, and I'm all about supporting local farmers and restaurants and all that stuff. But like if you can do things at home as well and build a skill set, it just serves you really well for so many different reasons. So
Right.
long story short, I like creating content that makes barbecue accessible. So that's always a goal of mine, of teaching, either really, no matter how complex the recipe is, really showcasing step by step, either in a fast way.
Hmm.
Obviously, if you're listening, you probably know what shorts are, and all the TikToks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but I also enjoy long form content that really takes it out a little further, but makes it easy to understand. And then also doing tons of try to make content that teaches people how to utilize the grill, and if you have issues, how to actually fix them. So
Nice.
yeah, that's kind of the heart of it.
I love that. So, and you like when did you start online? Like was Instagram kind of your first,
Yeah, that's
dip the toe in the water?
yes. Instagram is where it all started for me. Started from zero, and you're and I started online, not to grow a platform. To be honest, that sounds really
Yeah.
silly, but for me, I want, like I mentioned, I used COVID. A friend of mine, we're talking about, let's use this season, especially a lot of us are all working from home, to not consume but create. And
Hmm.
so, for me, it was about, man, I'm going to start on Instagram. I'm just going to do this because it's a hobby, and I want to. And then that clarity of teaching people how to barbecue became clear as the more I did it. I realized, okay, this is no longer just a hobby that fuels me up in my soul, but I'm getting to meet people. So it started on Instagram. I started meeting people going all over the world, people even in Oklahoma. Oh gosh, you're just in my backyard. So, you're
Yeah.
DMing people, you're learning people's stories, you're connecting in person occasionally. So yeah, it started on Instagram. Instagram grew slowly, but my relationship grew rapidly, to the
Hmm.
point that I started getting on Zooms, in 2020 through 2021 with about 5 or 6 barbecue guys around the country, all different type of grills. And our friend, a guy named Frank from Smoker Builder, kind of brought a bunch of us together, all different backgrounds with barbecue, and just we would just talk barbecue and business. And that's he's one that really started helping me think about what's my why, like what,
Yeah.
like this goes beyond, what's the purpose beyond just this being a hobby and just posting pictures and videos for likes. Like there's got to be something more to this. And so I obviously, man, I captured that vision, especially being a ministry pastor. Of course, like, yeah, why am I doing this beyond just my hobby? And so for me, it became about people, and I want to connect with people. Obviously, the basics of barbecue, but I want to connect with people
Hmm.
and know people's stories. And if we can make the world a better place, and it happens to be around a common love language called barbecue, even better. But that's where it all started. Instagram, connected to a guy named Frank, and we started meeting weekly on Zooms with a bunch of other guys. I got to learn a lot more about barbecue and business. And then that kind of just evolved. And then eventually, through that call and those weekly calls, those guys challenged me to go, man, try beyond. Don't just get focused on one platform. You know, what would it look like to make connections beyond that? And so then I think the second one definitely was YouTube.
Yeah.
And and I'm not great at YouTube, but man, my first YouTubes were, oh gosh, you look back and go, oh my gosh, well, I didn't know what I was doing,
Right. Right.
as far as the video aspect of it.
Yeah, so you basically just stumbled into a barbecue mastermind is basically what you ended up having with those guys. Frank kind of set up a group of guys and you iron sharpens ironed that
Yeah.
thing and learn from each other. And while you sit here today, retelling a story that sounds much like you were were gleaning that entire time, I have to think that there was equal opportunity, and there's probably guys in that group that equally are saying that you were instrumental in their growth and what happened in their journeys as well.
Oh, absolutely. It's really what gave me a vision for uh, what now I'll call a barbecue business. It
Yeah,
really, that network, that mastermind group that you mentioned definitely began to set a tone to go, okay, I need to think about this a little bit differently. How do I use this for good and good purpose? So I'm not just wasting time, you know? So
yeah.
absolutely. That's kind of, and to what you're seeing today. Yeah, that's where definitely where it started.
So did your motto, did it come out of that time where you were challenged for your why? Was that like a direct result out of that?
It was. It
Yeah.
was. It was really think about, in business, like, who's that? Can you describe your customer, and
Mm-hmm.
who is that? And we did a bunch of exercises to determine and what that looks like. Who that person is, what are they like, and what's the values behind that. So yeah, our my less hate, more love, good barbecue came out of that. And I knew the phrase "less hate, more barbecue" was out there. That phrase I started seeing around the internet, but I felt like what was missing was the love piece.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, it's not just about less hate, and it's not just about barbecue. So as you're hearing my story a little bit, that's why the love, I wanted to pronounce the idea of love at a deeper level.
Yeah, and that comes just in this short time. I think the desire for connection, the desire to know people's stories, for it to
Yes.
not be a just a one way street for
Yep.
you, where you're just kind of throwing content out there and just letting it settle, but you're out there. Hopefully, your goal would be to engage, get to know people, build
Yes.
trust in that brand, where
Yep.
people are looking to you for just a positive perspective as well as great barbecue tips and tricks
Exactly.
and that kind of thing.
Exactly. Man, that
But
you nailed it. And to be honest with you, I think I'm still on that journey of I think I've learned how to incorporate barbecue and my slowly and you know weave in my values more distinctly, but I'm still growing into how the barbecue and those values are, how those mesh well, like the faith aspect with it for me. Cause I don't, I find I want to strike a good balance of what that looks like. So that part's still growing, but I think I'm taking strides in that.
yeah, what do you think that, if you were able to just fast forward 6 months, a year, what's that perfect balance for you where you're able to use this platform to share your faith as well as,
Yeah.
your love and passion for barbecue? What would that look like in a perfect world where you wouldn't lose followers, where you would have tremendous influence and maybe more influence because of it?
Man, that's a great question. I think for me, what comes to mind are a few things. One, I want to be a person that someone feels safe uh, go, man, no matter what my background and religious beliefs are, I just got questions about how life and faith intersect,
Mm,
even if we don't believe the same thing. A phrase I oftentimes use with my community is, especially with those that are not on the journey spiritually, but have maybe interest, is that our job is to, absorb people's hostility through listening so
Mm.
that we can allow God to do a work in people's lives. And so I want to just be in a person, 6 months from now, someone comes to my channel or hears this podcast that it's a safe person just to, man, talk about life and barbecue things and just be that encouragement. And so that's one personal goal. Uh, from the business side and how that works, I do have some dreams. I don't know if I'll use this term because I think it's out there in other industry or in the barbecue industry, but this concept of doing grills for good. I have some visions of how I want to take Bartlow's barbecue and do something beyond just teaching people how to barbecue. I want Bartlow's Barbecue to be a platform that connects people to organizations that are addressing issues in the world that matter, like food insecurity,
Mm.
uh, water insecurity, clean water insecurity, things
Yeah.
like that, that really are. I've traveled the world in my job. I've been to third world countries. I've been a lot of places that don't have what the USA has, and not as a shaming aspect, but just to go, when you get exposed to something, now I'm responsible.
Yeah.
I'm exposed to how the world is, and now there's a responsibility. And so I think Mother Teresa says it like that, something like, we all can't do great things, but we all can do great things with small love, with great love.
Mm.
And so just figuring out what that aspect of what's your small thing you can do with great love, that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out with the barbecue. So for me, I want to, my big dream with how those intersect is, man, what are ways I can help rally people to do things that may impact the world in a really positive way? And I do it because it's out of my love for God and Jesus, but no pressure to go. You need to get on that journey with me. If you want to, great, but let's do something with our faith, put it to action. So that's kind of a dream. I've got some ideas of how, like, steps I want to take. So,
Yeah.
but I'm still trying to realize exactly what that looks like.
Are you
But one
still go ahead.
Oh, yeah, one idea I have is called Grills for Good, where like we identify nonprofits that where there's food insecurity, and we teach people how to grill, but then you donate the grill
Yeah.
so that they can learn how to keep on cooking in a what they call a food desert. And so those are a few kind of ideas of just how to bring awareness to some really great agencies that are in a food insecure area, but yet so tie in the grill, donate it, teach them how to use it, and then hopefully that's just one little step towards solving some issues in our world.
I love that. Are you still meeting with this group of guys, or is it kind of like dissolved a little bit, or
Great question. It's dissolved, but we've talked about, we connect. Each of us individually still connect. Probably two or three of them I've developed good friendships, and our paths are connecting in different, still in the barbecue industry, but you kind of uniting and supporting each other's businesses. So
yeah.
two or three of them I'm connected to and supporting their businesses. Like one makes smokers, another has his own rub and seasoning, and so that's connected us. And I've gained a lot of wisdom from each of those guys, but yeah, try to elevate them as well in the industry.
You mentioned it a little bit earlier that last fall, for the first time ever, you competed in
Yeah.
barbecue. So what made you decide to do that? What was that thing that was like, hey, I've got to go do this?
That's a great question. I two things. One was I just am an entrepreneur. I like to try new things. And so now within this field of barbecue, I felt I just enjoy new things. So that's one reason. But the other one is I want to continue to hone my craft in barbecue. I just love learning. I love growing. I'm a natural learner. And so I just thought, you know what? Barbecue competition is a whole world for sure. It's complex, it's competitive. And what better way than just like get a humble pie, enter a barbecue competition, figure out what you don't know,
Yeah.
And learn some things. And so that was the motivation. It's like I want to learn more barbecue skills. I want to learn better knife. My knife
Training
skill.
skills and knives. Yep.
That exactly. I think I still have so much to. You watch my videos, going, "Hey, this guy could teach me some basics for sure, but I'm not perfect. So I want to
Yeah.
keep on growing. So I can help people along.
Yeah. How did you do? How'd you do in your
So
competition?
there was 4 categories. If I remember right, there was brisket, there was chicken, ribs, and pork. And we placed. So there was about 45 teams, I think, and we out of the 4, we placed in one, and we got 8th in brisket, and beat out 2 of my favorite barbecue restaurants in Oklahoma City, at
Nice.
least that day,
Yep.
and won some money. So that definitely, you kind of got the bug. You hear your name called at the end on Saturday, and you're like just having a pretty awesome moment. And so I did that with my brother. His name's Brad. He's also on Instagram called Okie Barbecue. So we did that together with I call it my barbecue mentor Frank. He came
Yeah.
down, his trailer, his drums, and a few things, and we did that one together. And so caught the bug. That's an expensive hobby. So I don't know how
Yeah.
often we'll do it, but we're definitely committed to do our local one just so we can kind of stay, uh, stay in that groove of connecting and networking, but also growing our skills. And I think we'll probably even do some barbecue classes, competition classes, and learn from some of those grand champs, out there.
Yeah, for sure. Now, if folks follow you, they know that you are a Kamado Joe guy,
Yep.
which I am as well. I cook on Kamado Joe as well. So talk to me a little bit about just what made you choose Kamado Joe, and just kind of for those that don't know that smoker or that grill, because it's really not a
Yep.
smoker.
Yep.
What's special, or what draws you to it and keeps you coming back to that Kamado Joe?
No, that's a great question. When I was looking for a barbecue grill, as you heard early in the podcast, I was exposed to Big Green Egg. I mean, that was kind of a
Hmm.
national brand, an international brand. So I was going in initially thinking, oh, I'll probably just get a green egg. But as you are learning, I'm a researcher, so I started researching. Okay, if I'm going to do a ceramic grill, I probably should just know what's out there. So I started researching all the different ones out there. Came across Kamado Joe just through my research, and after doing a lot of research, what I liked about Kamado Joe is how much they innovate the variety of grills. Obviously, very similar to Big Green Egg, but they were always innovating. They had a lot of different accessories, and then they had that airlift hinge.
Yep.
And so I was like, oh gosh, I'll be honest. When I first was researching, I was like, man, that airlift hinge is a game changer for someone does it, won't have to worry about that
Muscle
falling
that
on
thing
you.
up. Yeah.
Like, so that's kind of what won me over. I mean, obviously the price point's similar, so it really wasn't. Although you can get a cheaper ceramic grill outside of Big Green Egg and Kamado
Yep.
Joe, there's definitely cheaper entry options now.
Yep.
But I wanted ceramic, something that I thought one time investment, last a lifetime, and then but it was the innovation that really won me over.
Yeah, for sure. And you've kind of established a relationship with them, I think, at this point.
Yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely. I'm an
you
ambassador. I think they call them Fire Squad members. So yeah, I'm
yeah,
an ambassador for them.
and just got we'll talk about it. I mean, there's nothing in it for me, but they just came out with a brand new uh grill. Tell us a little bit about that and what your first experience. You've
Yeah,
had a few cooks under your belt now, I think.
yeah, I have. It's called the Connected Joe, and it's like the automated kind of digital charcoal ceramic grill. It has essentially 2 modes. There's more to it than this, but just the simple way to explain it is you got kind of the digital automatic mode that allows you to fire this thing up on its own. I mean, you still throw in charcoal, but it's got an automatic fire starter where the heat source is coming from the bottom, a kind of a fire ring. And then it's a digital display that allows you to control temperature. It's got a built in fan from the back, and it pretty much is a kind of true set it and forget it charcoal grill. Now, we use that term a lot in pellet, industry, set it and
Hmm.
forget it. But when you know how to manage a Kamado Joe, it really is set it and forget it kind of experience, even without the digital features. But
Right.
that's part one of the experience for Kamado Joe's new Connected Joe is that it's the kind of the digital experience that allows you to kind of control everything from your app and the display. And then it's got the classic mode, which if someone doesn't want all the cool features, you don't have to turn anything on, dump charcoal and control it with regular advanced settings that you're used to. And you can do it in classic mode. So those are the two main features. There's a lot more features to it, but
Yeah.
those are the kind of two distinctives that makes it different. And the price point is like right under $1,700, so it's cheaper than a brand new Classic 3 grill. Although there's pros and cons. Uh, the Classic 3 is a lot taller, and you get like
Hmm.
4 inches taller, and it's not digital, but that's kind of the 30,000 foot view of the new Connected Joe. But yeah, I've done like probably 10 to 15 cooks on it now,
Nice.
and done a few videos on my channel and on Kamado Joe on it as well. But I'm enjoying it. I know there's a lot of different opinions. You get into any forum on any grill, there's going to be haters and
Yes.
there's going to be lovers. And I'm just one of those. I'm a very optimistic person. I laugh at the haters, not because I make fun of them. I'm just like, there's just more important things in life. But I appreciate your opinion. We all got them. So,
Yeah.
but and being a dad of young kids and married, I see the value of both, and that's what's cool about the Connected Joe is if you're a true purist, man, just then you can use it as a
You can go
traditional
classic mode. Right.
mode, and you're good. And then if you get lazy or you're tight, but you want to barbecue, then yeah, still utilize those other features that make your life easier. Why not?
Well, I think it was really smart for Kamado Joe to do it. Loco just came out with a kind of their kettle version of this. It's a charcoal that's got an automated, fire starter and all that, and digital controls. I think it's the answer for those that are into the live fire cooking uh,
Right.
to the pellet grills. Uh, for me, the pellet grills are, you know, they're great because it lets, like you said, folks that just don't have the time to kind of watch something, babysit something. And I think
That's
they've
right.
done a great job of just getting people out grilling and cooking and making it easy. And if Kamado Joe can do the same thing, if Loco can do the same thing, more people out grilling, I think it's great.
Man, that's 100% the perspective I'm at, man. That's one of the reasons why, another reason why I love all the variety of grills they have, because there's multiple on ramps into Kamado style cooking that
Hmm.
doesn't break the bank, for you get
Yeah.
a little taste of it.
Yeah, for sure. Now, did I see a post recently that said you've got a rub coming out? Is that?
Yeah, I've been working on this for a few years, and especially again coming out of that little mastermind group, kind of got inspired with like a long term vision, and so I've just been doing a lot of R&D behind the scenes, and part of it is, just like, I just, as this brand is growing, just another way of just kind of finding unique ways to connect with people and also grow the business
Hmm.
that also supports the family too. It's not my primary income, but just ways that I can continue to, uh, we call it, my family call it being a diligent earner. Like it's important to be a
Mm,
good steward. So finding unique
that's a good
other
way to
ways
put it.
to bring income in for the family, which overall our family, besides supporting your own family, we want to continue to be givers, and so this is another way for us to bring income so that we can also give away. So, but yeah, new rub launching. Hopefully, not exact date, but goal is May 1st. It should be arriving next week. It's called Sweet Red Dirt. Happy to announce the name.
Yeah.
Wanted something that was kind of true to where I'm from, and so this is kind of a sweet and a heat ingredients coming together, something that's more like an all purpose seasoning and rub that's good on chicken, pork and steak. I really love it on chicken, particularly, but it's good on pork and beef as well.
Love it. Now, that will be available at bartlowsbarbecue.com. Is that right?
Right. Yeah, I'm capturing people's email right now. I'm transitioning my current website. That'll still be the URL to not that you guys care to like Shopify, so I can help integrate everything and manage all the orders. So yeah, but that will be the website. Bartlows.barbecue.com will be the home base to find merch, barbecue T-shirts, and rubs. Or one rub right now, but Hope got
Some
some vision.
plans.
Yeah,
That's
get
great.
this one under the belt. I've got some more ideas for rubs and maybe even a sauce down the road.
Cool. Well, I love that phrase, being a diligent earner for your family. That's uh, I've never heard that. I don't think so. I love that phrase. So tell me a little bit about your family.
Yeah. So again, born and raised here in Oklahoma City. Been married for 15 years to my beautiful wife Brooke, and we've got two daughters, Faith and May, and they're kindergarten and fourth grade right now.
Nice.
So they'll be starting first grade in fifth grade next year. So that's kind of the Bartlow family, and yeah, home base is Oklahoma City, and that's kind of
I
a
knew there
little
was
bit.
a reason that I liked you. We're both girl dads. We've
Real dads, man. You know it.
yeah.
Still
I've
placing.
we kept going. We have four girls.
Oh
So
my god!
yeah.
I can't believe you're still standing, man. That's amazing.
No, I'm still standing because God knew that I couldn't handle boys. And when
Same
I'm
here.
around, when I was around like a family uh, and they had boys, 2, 3-year-old boys, like I wouldn't have made it past
I
their third birthday. Like they were wide
feel
open,
it.
Like like no, the Lord knew.
It's true. Girls, at least the season of the age I'm at right now, is they are unique. Definitely, the energy level is definitely there.
Yeah.
Drama's there, sweetness is there, but it's definitely a different type of energy with boys. When we're, to your point, hanging out with other
Oh
friends,
yeah.
it's like another level
Yep.
of
Yep.
energy.
I would not trade it at all. At all.
Yeah, we
How'd you meet your wife?
So we met at in college. Long story short, we she gave me the friend card in college, but that's where we met. We were fraternity sorority is how we met, and I remember telling my best friend at a fraternity party on my very first night of college, I just met my wife, and I pursued her, but not in a creepy way.
Good. Okay. All right.
Years, yeah, but she gave me the friend card, and it took her a while to kind of realize
Did she
how
have
good.
these printed up or you're just a friend? You're like or
It would have been next level. I may have been. She would have probably destroyed me in my heart if she actually gave me a card. No, it was just the verbal kind of like, if we can hang out as friends, kind of thing. Asked her out a few times, but it was whenever I moved to Chicago, we started doing the distance dating. I came back and we connected over coffee after I moved away, and maybe it's the whole distance grows your heart kind of thing phrase.
hey,
So that's how we met in college. So we've known each other for, gosh, we've been married for 15 years, but we've known each other since we were 18.
nice. Well, very cool. Well, we don't make this podcast a lot about technicalities and what's your are you fat cap up or down? Those are important questions. Sometimes they naturally come up, but this podcast is about just connecting, learning somebody's story, hearing what their journey is, and hopefully folks can find some inspiration. I know that I already have here today with you. One thing that I do like to ask folks when I remember, because I just recorded a podcast last week and I was like, I didn't ask Susie Bullock this question. But I would, because I think this is something people can kind of take. It's relatively easy to understand or to kind of describe. But if you're going to go out this weekend on Saturday and you're just going to say, "Hey, we're making ribs," like what's kind of your just kind of talk through what's Scott's kind of go to technique for ribs. What kind of rib guy are you?
Man, that's great. In this season, I'm a 3-hour rib guy. So
Nice.
let's start there. I'm a 3-hour rib guy, especially on the Kamado Joe, but I think most smokers can pull this recipe or this strategy down pretty pat. So we'll start there. I'm definitely a 3-hour rib guy. I'm gonna get kind of the St. Louis cut, and then from there, I can go either way, but I typically like to remove the
The
membrane.
membrane. Hmm.
Yep. But you could score it if that's something you enjoy. And then from there, typically we'll throw on mustard as a binder, throw on now my barbecue seasoning,
Yes,
but
plug it.
use
Yeah, red
your,
dirt.
your favorite, or make it, SPG as a start. Always recommend people start with SPG if you're new to barbecue, and learn your palate, and then begin to add it, ingredients after that, so you can start figuring out what you actually enjoy. But
Mhm.
SPG is the base, and then from
Salt, pepper,
there.
garlic. Salt, pepper, garlic. If you're
Oh,
very new,
thank
use.
you. Yes, exactly. So that's good. And I like to use, coarse ground pepper, 16 mesh pepper,
Yep.
because it's a little thicker, it's going to stick. And I'm a kosher salt kind of guy, and salt brining is oftentimes something the night before I'll do as well, to help pull out the moisture, but sucks it right back in to make it more tender the next day. It's another tip that I have found I enjoy. So that process, 3 hours, 275 on the grill, maybe even 300. But and it's okay if it kind of fluctuates between
Yep.
270 to 300. Kind of get that number, kind of gets you 3 hours, pretty nice. From there, I like to smoke it with pecan wood, but I recommend finding, this is where it gets fun. I think, is finding the wood that's really well known in your region, and
Hmm.
start learning, what is popular. So when I starting, I started reaching out to a lot of barbecue joints in Oklahoma, going, what wood do you use? And that's where I found out pecan is something that was really, and I'm a big post oak wood guy, but I started switching, or even kind of integrating pecan and oak together a little bit. So I would choose your wood. I would do pecan on the ribs, and then from there, I would smoke it for an hour. And after the rub is set, then I would spritz it, probably with either water, apple cider vinegar. This is where you get creative as well. You
Yeah,
could use
for sure.
broth; it doesn't matter, but find a liquid as well. And then once we kind of hit that 180 mark, and really I'm looking for that mahogany tone. I've seen that. Okay, now the ribs have kind of congealed together. You can see the bark starting to set.
Hmm.
Then I like to foil boat. Some people like to butcher paper, but I like to foil boat. I believe there's a lot of people that claim that method, but I think the most popular, if you can help me remember, Joe, isn't it Chud's Barbecue? I think that
Yeah.
either
Yep.
started it or made it famous. Can't remember, but I've definitely gravitated to that method of foil boating it, mainly because it speeds up the cook, but also it captures all the renderings of liquids that you might want to do. So at this point, whenever I foil boat it, I picked up something from my competition experience this first time, from my buddy Frank. And so if you ever get into competition, you might use this. So I like to use, I've always done the brown sugar, slices of butter,
Hmm.
um, but I've been using tiger sauce, which is kind of a type of hot sauce
Hmm.
mixture on top of the ribs, on the
Mm.
top, on the meat side and bone side. So
Okay.
I'll do that during the foil boat method, and then essentially take it until it's probe tender, but last 30 minutes, glaze it with your favorite sauce,
Yeah.
and go over another 15 minutes, maybe let it rest for 15 minutes, slice it, and you're ready to go.
Yeah. I love that 3 hour technique. I love what that bite is, that bite through. It's not fall off the bone. There's some
Yep,
integrity to that, but such you can get a lot of flavor in that 3 hours for sure. Um,
100%.
Love that. And for those that don't know, that kind of that foil boating technique, a lot of folks, wrapping in foil, totally Texas crutch is kind of what that would be called. The foil boat is basically what it sounds like. It's going to be an open air foil situation where you're just kind of building a little boat, setting that rib in it. or whatever protein you're cooking, brisket, pork shoulder, whatever it is.
That's
And
right.
it also, I think, allows for some additional air that keeps that bark set versus
That's
that
right.
bark getting kind of like moist
Soggy.
and mushy, soggy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, love it. That's totally support that. Well, we always kind of finish with a similar set of questions for everyone here at the end. So these should turn out to be a little easier for you, Scott. You've done really well. Giving you a pretty good grade so far. The way you've answered your questions, you can be
Oh,
proud. Your
that's
wife, you can tell your wife you did good work today. Um,
good.
so we obviously may the smoke be with you. It's a nod to Star Wars and barbecue, kind of combining two loves of mine. Grew up as a huge Star Wars fan. Are you a Star Wars fan? Is
Oh
one
my
question.
gosh, yes. I'm a Star Wars fan, and although this is not your thing, but I'm also a Star Trek fan. But yes,
Okay,
love Star
all right.
Wars.
I didn't ask that at all. So um,
Oh,
now in the Star Wars canon, I don't want to know what your favorite Star Trek movie is. I want to know what your favorite Star Wars movie is.
oh my gosh. Oh gosh. I do love the classics. So it would be the Jedi, the Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Would be a great classic. But I don't hate some of the new ones. Some even the spin-offs. I'm trying to think of one of the spin-offs that I really enjoyed.
Like Rogue One or Solo or
Like Solo and Rogue One.
yeah.
I really enjoyed those as well. But yeah, I really enjoy the classics as well.
Okay. Do you have a favorite character that you kind of resonate with or that resonates with you?
Oh man, I would obviously everyone probably says Yoda. I mean, I
No,
love
no, no. Everybody
yeah, no,
does. Hey,
I love Yoda, and then with the new Star Wars series on CBS or what or Disney, the Mandalorian. What's the baby
yeah,
Yoda?
yeah.
Um,
Grogu. Yeah,
Grogu. That's
yeah.
probably the current favorite in the family right now. We
Yeah.
love some
Well, it's so
Grogu.
cute. So
He's
cute.
cute, and he's got the cool superpowers.
Yeah, for sure.
He's learning all of his techniques right now.
Who knows what's going to happen?
We
Um,
don't.
all right. So, what kind of music do you listen to? What?
I'm a country fan. I listen to anything, but country is definitely. I just love country music. So that's
Growing up,
probably be my
growing up
favorite.
Oklahoma. So, are you kind of like a George Strait kind of guy, or Florida Georgia line?
I like both, honestly.
Okay.
I do. I like red dirt music, not because of my rub. But I also love some of red dirt music. But yeah, I love the traditional classics, like you just mentioned there, like Brad Paisley, Blake Shelton, all those guys.
Yeah.
But there's even some red dirt bands out there that I enjoy as well.
Cool. So if you're out there grilling, what are you drinking?
What am I drinking? Well, honestly, probably I don't do a lot of drinking, but I'll do drink water. Doc is a pop. I'll drink a Sprite. You know,
What
the that's probably something I'd be drinking out there.
what's
Coffee, but really not
what
that late.
what's Doc? Is that like a
Yeah,
Dr. Pepper knockoff? Is that kind of
yeah, it's kind of a cherry Coke, non-calorie, kind of not non-calorie, but non sugar based, kind of a Pepsi, and it's a partnership I hooked up with years ago. And honestly, I really became a fan of the taste. And I'm not really a pop drinker. I really
yeah,
just tried water and coffee, honestly, but I kind of liked it. And so we've partnered up for a few years. So not meaning to be a product placement, but I genuinely like drinking it. That's actually what's in my backyard refrigerator right now. It would be Doc and water and
okay,
some other girly drinks.
cool. Hey, real quick, we've got probably two more questions. Notifications, do they turn back on? I just got like some really high pitched dings or something
Oh,
uh,
I thought it was off.
that just came through.
Apologize.
No, 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 no. You're good, man. No worries.
Okay,
But we're
make
almost
sure
done.
that's.
You're doing great.
Oh, thanks. I'm hoping it's off. Okay.
All right. Well, so this is a tough one for barbecue folks, especially I think folks that come from a region with a rich history. But if you were forced to really only cook and eat only one type of region's barbecue, like
Mm.
what region would you cook? Because we're going to say, North Carolina, you know,
Yeah.
Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas City, Memphis,
Yeah. If
where would you
I'm
put
I'm
it?
take Oklahoma off the li yeah, that's an obvious, like, cook that, but I love I love Carolina pulled pork. I mean, I
Okay.
love it. I You'll see that a lot on my channel. I do a lot of Carolina ribs, Carolina, and I'm more of a vinegar based than I am mustard based. So
Okay.
I don't know if that's just my palate. I just love the vinegar based. So I would say Carolina barbecue is one I cook a lot because I just love the flavors.
Yeah. All
Otherwise,
right.
second runner up besides Oklahoma, it'd definitely be your traditional Texas style for
Yeah.
sure.
Low
Just
country barbecue.
yeah, for sure.
Uh, is there a time, kind of when things all went wrong for you, like a really bad barbecue blooper that you have?
Well, I shared one early on the podcast when I was just getting started, with my roommate. I think I was making brisket and I just completely, maybe it was ribs, but I burnt it. It was dry. But I was, what I did, when you don't know what you don't know, I was like proud of myself. And then he was
Right.
like, that sucked.
That was
And
horrible.
you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it was horrible. And I was like, you're right, this is horrible. But that was the one in the beginning. Probably, current mistakes. Um, it'd probably just be like, drop still occasionally you drop things, in the grill, or like you're trying to grab something and it falls off the grate into the charcoal and you're like, crap, like that still happens occasionally, or you're in a rush and you're not paying attention, especially when
Yeah.
I'm recording. It happens. You're the producer. You're doing it all, and you're like, oh gosh, so much happening. So that's probably. But yeah, do I? It's rare that I under or overcook steaks, but that still sometimes happens. Depending on the day, if I'm not paying attention or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I guess bonus question: how do your daughters like their steak done?
This is awesome. So they actually are completely comfortable with doing medium rare, which is I'm really proud. Oh, that's and there's no shame in what I really am a fan of. No matter what you like is really
Sure.
what matters. But I did a video a few years ago where I did a blind taste test with them, gas versus charcoal, and they both guessed it right. Charcoal. They both knew which one was charcoal. So that made me proud. But they also their favorite thing for me to cook besides steak is they love chicken wings, and they love pork chops. So those are kind of common things I'm cooking on the grill for the girls.
Well, you are doing a good work there. Train up a child in a way they will go, and you know,
I
the Lord's work is what you're doing there, Scott. You're doing it
love
well. Well, hey, I really do appreciate you taking the time today. I don't take that for granted. Thanks for being with us here today. Please go out, follow Bartlow's Barbecue across all the media outlets, or social media outlets, and as well as you can pick up his new Red Dirt Rub there out on his website at Scott Bartlow's Barbecue, or just bartlowsbarbecue.com.
it.
Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Joe. Awesome being here.
Thanks so much. All right. Until next time, guys, may the smoke be with you.